Okay. It looks like we are live. Looks like we're recording. Everything looks good. Let's see here. Welcome back. Today is our new sessions of Money Mondays. Welcome to 2025. I hope you were able to close out 2024 in the way that you were hoping. If not, know that you're not alone. We're all going to figure out how to make 2025 better. Something that we're definitely doing here at Unmarked Street is figuring out how to really systematize everything, automate everything. I have been spending the last several weeks like building out email automations and workshop automations and purchasing automations. And there's like so much on the back end that now I'm so excited I don't have to actually manually do. So if you like used to download a free resource from us, I would have to go into our different systems, mark your name with a tag, make sure that you were getting the follow-up sequence. Some of them didn't even have follow-up sequences. So now a lot of that is set up. Things will be a lot more automated. I don't have to monitor it all the time. We can come back and just check our analytics as opposed to having to like do the actual work every single time we get a download. It was starting to get a little overwhelming because more and more of you are starting to take advantage of our free resources, which is awesome, but it was starting to get to be a lot of work to do everything manually. So that's one of the things that we are definitely doing here at Unmarked Street. As we go into 2025, we are going to be automating, standardizing, systematizing, optimizing, operationalizing, all of the Isings. We are going to be doing all of that this year, and that is our number one focus, like period. So I've actually got some really cool ideas for programs that we want to launch to the community, ways to get more people involved. And we're going to put a lot of that off until 2026 so that we can really just get our shit together in 2025 and know that we have like a machine that's running. We're going to test a ton of different ideas. So if you're looking for ways to move forward in 2025, I really recommend, my coach has been telling me, take everything down to like the simplest form, like choose one key thing that you want to focus on for this year and just do it for a year. If you can do this one thing that could move the needle for you and your business for 1 year, imagine where you're going to be a whole year from today, what you're going to have learned over an entire year, how good you're going to become at that thing. So that's what we're doing here. And one thing that I wanted to jump into here on Money Mondays is doing a little bit of ROI calculations. So if you have been hiring consultants, hiring freelancers, or let's say maybe you are a consultant or a freelancer, or you're trying to figure out if you want to join that world, we did a recent exercise for a previous client who kind of wanted to come back onto our books. They wanted to hire us for some new projects. They wanted to maybe put us on a monthly retainer, have us be like their regular development team. And something that they asked me to do was to go back to our previous project that we had worked on with them and do an ROI calculation. And so this was something I hadn't been asked to do before. I think a lot of other businesses are figuring out ways to, either justify what they're spending on team, or they know that they have a budget that they're willing to spend on certain team members. And so usually that's what we work backwards into when we talk to a new potential client. We ask them about budget, we ask them about their monthly recurring revenue, we ask them all of those kinds of questions to get them to a place where hiring us isn't a burden, it's actually a blessing. We come in and we're able to help make them more money instead of costing them money. So that's a tricky thing, but this was a really interesting exercise for me to go through. And so I have a little like my notes over here that I just want to go through with you today to let you know kind of how I did this, and maybe how you can do it if you're looking to put an ROI on either a project that you did or a project that you paid for. There's just some kind of simple math calculations that I went ahead and did, but a lot of it has to do with money and percentages. And we love to talk about that here at Money Mondays, right? So what we did is we took a look at the entire amount that we billed for the previous project, which ended up being over a 6-month period. We ended up billing $10,850 to do all the way from their initial tech pack. We went through multiple prototyping rounds and we did their size sets, approving everything to production. We did that for, I think it was 5 different styles, and 2 of those styles were actually sets. So it was like a top and a bottom together that needed to be able to like look the same, feel the same, have the same compression, stuff like that. So at the time, that was definitely, I will say, an underbilling. We really wanted to help this company out and we wanted to get this going for them. We thought that they would become a long-term client, and it's great that they're coming back around to really consider hiring us again. So that is definitely something that we're looking forward to in 2025, is kind of retapping into some of the great clients that we've had in the past. So again, so $10,850 is what they ended up paying for about 6 months of work with us at the time. We were very much just starting out. If you're looking to get that same rate from us, you probably won't be able to get it anymore, but everything's negotiable. So if you wanted to come and negotiate that with me and you feel like that's a fair rate for you to be paying, let me know and we'll talk through what we could do for you for something like that. So what we did is we wanted to compare that to their net profits that they had made on the collection. And one of the great things that we heard about that entire collection, those 5 pieces, including the 2 sets, became a bestseller for them because the fit was so good. And this is what I'm talking about all day long here at Unmarked Street. Like, if you have a great fitting product, your customers will come back and buy more of it. So, for example, they had people coming, they bought the sets or they bought the pieces, and because they fit so well and they function so well while the athlete was in motion doing their actual sport, they actually came back and bought like all the colorways of it. So instead of just buying one set, or maybe the entire collection in blue, now they also have it in pink, yellow, black, white, and gray. Like it just ended up blowing up for them. So they were unwilling to share their actual net profits with me. So I ended up having to make some guesstimations, but based on what the items were selling for and how well they said that everything was actually selling through, we were able to make some decent guesses. And so again, this is not exact numbers, but I want you to know that you should have your own exact numbers, and you can then use this math to kind of figure out the ROI of a project. So for example, we used the numbers to say that maybe they've made $1,250 per month. I thought that felt very, very conservative to me, actually. Over 16 months of sales after they had launched the collection, $1,250 per month ended up being about $20,000 in net profits over that amount of time. So again, that was super rough, but that was an easy way for kind of me to get to a full potential number, or like a future profitability number. From there, what we wanted to do was then also, like I said, just add future profitability. So they weren't like killing that collection. They were actually doing a reorder. They were ordering more than they had in the past. It was still selling really well. They were going to events, and it was number 1 on their list of sales pieces. So we were able to estimate, especially based on what we were already estimating over 16 months of sales, that if they sold into that collection for another 2 years, maybe that becomes an evergreen collection for them. It's something they always want to have on the books. So for an additional 2 years, let's say they just keep up that $1,250 per month. They didn't have a big marketing budget. They don't have a sales team. So everything was very organic. And so that's why we were trying to be very conservative with their sales numbers. We then predict that over 2 years, if they could keep selling in that same way, it'll be an additional $30,000 in profit. So in total, if you add up the $20,000 that they'd made over the last 16 months, plus the $30,000 that we project that they'll be making over the next 2 years with the same collection, their total profits on the collection would have been $50,000. So when you look at that against the $10,850 that they spent for us to basically develop it, fit it, get it to production for them, the ROI on that project was 78.3%. And that's pretty damn high. I really think that close to 80% ROI on a project, if you're hiring a team and bringing them in, 80% of those profits are basically attributed to the work that they had done. And so that made me feel actually really, really good. We're still in conversations with them over whether or not they want to come back on board with us. But let me know what you think about that calculation. Have you been doing any ROI calculations for your company? How are you basically justifying hiring people on your team? Are you looking at the ROI that they're actually bringing in for you? And if they are, how are you doing it? I would love to have a conversation. We can definitely go live and do conversations together. We can come on LinkedIn together and do some collaborations. I'd love to learn a little bit more about how people are doing this, because I'm sure this isn't like the most buttoned up way to calculate ROI on a project, but it got us pretty close to a percentage that we were able to kind of give to them. They paid 21.7% of that $50,000 to hire us and to bring us in and to have us do the work for them. They didn't have to touch a single tech pack. They didn't have to worry about communicating with the factory at all. They didn't have to fit the garments anymore. All of that was taken off of their plate. And so by paying 21% on a project, that's actually really, really good. We tend to see, or we tend to want to see, especially in entrepreneurial world, that we're spending somewhere between like 25 to 35% on team. And that's going to depend on like where you're at in your journey for sure. But what we tend to see at the beginning of your journey is that you're actually spending closer to 40 to 45% on team, because you need people to be coming in and doing a lot of the work alongside you while you're working on like building your revenue. You're working on making your money, right? And so you need people in-house who can help you with that. And it tends to be a bigger percentage of what you're actually taking home. Then as you kind of progress and grow, you really want to try to whittle that down to about 25%. You can go up to 30% if you're choosing not to do any coaching. So some of the different percentages that I've heard is like you want to be spending 25% on team, 10% on a coach or some sort of mentor or some sort of guide who can help you as the CEO or the owner like understand what's next, someone who's been in your shoes before, someone who can really tell you like what steps you need to be taking as a business owner. So if you choose not to have someone on your team who can maybe hold you accountable or who can coach you through the next steps, you can take that team budget up to 35% and kind of remove that coaching fee from your projected budget. What we do here at Unmarked Street is we try to fill both roles. So if you actually want to hire us, we try our very best to be about 10% of your budget. So that's your coaching budget. But then we're going to try to do as much work for you as we can, which is kind of unheard of. Like no coaches really come in and actually do work for companies. They just tell you what you should be doing next. So that's, I think, what makes us really unique. We were actually 21.7%. Not only were we doing the work for them, but we were also kind of coaching them through all the steps, teaching them what they needed to do if they didn't want to keep us on for more than this project, and kind of guiding them through some of their financial stuff that was going on at the same time too. So again, let me know what you think of this ROI exercise. I'm super interested to hear if someone else has different ideas or different ways to do this. It would be a great exercise for me to learn so that we can maybe apply it to other contracts that we've had on the books. If you want to, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this episode. If it was helpful to you, please share it with somebody. And I will see you next Monday. Have a great week.